a very warm and gentle welcome to you. Thank you most kindly for choosing to spend a little of your quiet time with us. It is a very good thing indeed to seek out a peaceful story, for sometimes the world can feel a little too hurried and a little too loud, and a tale as soft as this one is just the ticket to help one's thoughts settle, much like motes of dust in a quiet sunlit room, preparing the way for a truly deep and restful sleep. And so, as we prepare to step into this gentle place together, we hope you find a measure of true comfort and profound peace within the telling of this story. Should that be the case, and if it feels right to you, we would be so very grateful if you would like this story and subscribe to our channel, for it would be a great joy to continue sharing these quiet little corners of the world with you. Now, find a comfortable position, let your breath be easy, and let us begin. Chapter 1, The First Hum. One must be very quiet indeed to find a path such as this, for it does not announce itself with signposts or well-trodden ground. It was a mere suggestion of a trail, a parting in the ferns that seemed to beckon with a silent, leafy finger, and Finian, whose heart was always inclined towards such gentle invitations, had followed. With every soft footfall upon the rich, dark loam, it felt as if a heavy cloak, one he hadn't even known he was wearing, was slipping from his shoulders. The clamor and hurry of the wider world, with all its sharp edges and insistent demands, seemed to fade behind him, its memory dissolving into the soft green-scented air like sugar in warm tea. He walked for a time that had no name, measured not in minutes, but in the slow, rhythmic pattern of his own quiet breathing. The trees here were of a kind and ancient vintage, their great, smooth-barked trunks rising like the pillars of a gentle, sun-dappled cathedral, their leaves, broad and shaped like open hands, filtered the afternoon light into a soft, aqueous green, bathing the air in a peaceful luminescence that calmed the eye. The very atmosphere felt different here, thicker somehow, as if laden with a deep and abiding tranquility that one could almost feel against the skin, a sensation as soft as a moth's wing. It was the scent of wood smoke, a delicate, pale ribbon of fragrance on the air that led him finally to the hollow. The path opened without fanfare into a small, sheltered vale, a perfect cup in the land's gentle hands, and there it was, a cottage. It was a structure that seemed not to have been built upon the land, but rather to have grown from it, with walls of smooth gray river stone and a roof of thick living moss that was a dozen shades of green. A single curl of smoke, the color of a pearl, rose from its stout chimney, not climbing urgently, but meandering its way into the sky, a soft and friendly greeting in the stillness. As dusk began to settle its soft lavender and rose-colored shawl across the sky, Finian approached the cottage's simple wooden door. It was slightly ajar, a silent welcome, and as he pushed it gently open, a wave of warmth and quiet washed over him. The air inside was blessedly cool, yet held the comforting scent of dried herbs and the faint, clean smell of beeswax. A fire crackled softly in a small stone hearth, its flames not leaping and dancing, but swaying with a slow, languid rhythm, casting a warm, buttery light upon the room's simple, well-loved wooden furniture. It was a place that felt immediately, unquestionably safe. He sank into a sturdy armchair, its cushions yielding with a soft sigh, and let the profound silence of the place envelop him. It was a quiet so complete it seemed to have a weight and texture, a tangible presence, like a warm, heavy blanket. It was a silence that did not feel empty, but full of peace, full of rest. He closed his eyes, feeling the journey's weariness begin to melt from his bones, the tension in his neck and shoulders simply dissolving into the comforting quiet of the room. He felt he could sit here forever, wrapped in this profound and gentle peace. It was then, in that deep well of stillness, that he first perceived it. It was not quite a sound that his ears could register, but rather a sensation, a feeling that resonated deep within his bones. It was a low, steady, and altogether pleasant hum, a vibration that seemed to emanate from the very foundations of the cottage, from the old wooden floorboards beneath his feet and the ancient stones of the hearth. It was a thrum as gentle as a purring cat, a feeling of life, steady and slow and deeply, deeply calm. This resonance, for that is what it felt like, seemed to fill the spaces between the silence. It was the quiet, rhythmic pulse of the hollow itself, a gentle lullaby sung by the earth. Finian did not understand it and felt no need to. It was simply there, a constant and reassuring presence. He let his own breathing slow, his exhalations falling into cadence with the low, steady hum. The last vestiges of the outside world faded completely, and a sense of peace, more profound than any he had ever known, settled over him like the softest, warmest down. Here, in this small, glowing room, surrounded by a silence that was alive and a sound that was felt rather than heard, Finian felt he had, at long last, come home. The fire swayed, the resonance hummed its ancient, soothing tune, and the quiet cartographer, his heart full of a simple and unexpected gratitude, let his head rest back against the soft cushions. The world was far away now, and all that mattered was the warm, gentle, and thrumming peace of this small, hidden place. Chapter 2. The sun-warmed stones. The morning arrived not with a sudden burst of light, but with a slow, gentle seeping of pearlescent gray into the soft dark. Finian awoke feeling as though he had slept for 100 years, a deep and dreamless slumber that had mended parts of him he hadn't known were frayed. The low, resonant hum was still there, a constant, comforting presence that felt as natural and essential as the beat of his own heart. The fire in the hearth had dwindled to a bed of softly glowing embers, and the air in the cottage was cool and smelled of stone and the promise of a new day. He pushed open the heavy wooden door and stepped out into the hollow. The air was crisp and carried the rich, fertile scent of damp earth and moss. A fine, silvery mist clung to the ground, muffling the world in a blanket of quiet and making the ancient trees seem even more like gentle, sleeping guardians. It was then that he saw her, moving through the mist with a slow, deliberate grace, a figure as serene and at home in this place as the old stones themselves. It was Orla, the tender of this quiet haven, and she offered him a still kind smile that seemed to warm the cool morning air. "A good morning to you," she murmured, her voice as soft as the mist that swirled around her ankles. "The tea is steeping, if you would care for a cup." It was less a question and more a gentle statement of fact, a simple offering of comfort. Finian, feeling a warmth spread through his chest that had nothing to do with the sun, nodded gratefully. They sat together on a simple wooden bench outside the cottage, sipping a wonderfully fragrant tea that tasted of mint and something sweet, like dried apple. Their conversation was unhurried, a series of gentle observations about the quality of the light or the scent of the damp soil, punctuated by long, comfortable silences. In Orla's presence, Finian felt no need to explain himself or his journey. It was as if she understood everything without a word being said. She seemed a part of the hollow, her quietude a reflection of the land's own. Her hands, as she held her simple ceramic mug, were those of someone who has spent a lifetime tending to growing things, her movements patient and full of a deep, gentle knowing. She was, Finian thought, perhaps the most peaceful person he had ever met, a living embodiment of the hollow's own serene spirit. Later, as the sun climbed higher and burned away the last of the mist, leaving behind a world sparkling with a million tiny dew gems, Orla gestured toward one of the large moss-covered stones that dotted the gentle slopes of the hollow. "The stones are very old friends," she said softly. "They hold the warmth of the sun better than anything, and they have their own stories to tell, if one is quiet enough to listen." Intrigued, Finian followed her, the soft, springy moss a cushion beneath his feet, its texture cool and slightly damp. He reached one of the largest stones, a great, smooth giant lying half buried in the earth as if it had been sleeping for eons. He placed his palm flat against its surface, and the sensation was immediate and surprising. The stone was wonderfully deeply warm, having soaked up the morning sun, a dry and pleasant heat that felt wonderfully soothing against his skin. But beneath that surface warmth, he felt something more. He felt the resonance, the hum, but here it was clearer, more focused, a steady rhythmic pulse flowing directly from the ancient stone into his hand, up his arm, and into the very center of his being. It was a feeling of profound stability and calm, a connection to something ancient, slow, and utterly unshakable. The hum of the stone seemed to speak of the long, quiet centuries spent under the sun and stars, of the patient turning of seasons, of a peace so deep it was beyond all understanding. Finian closed his eyes, leaning his shoulder against the great, warm stone, feeling the tension in his muscles simply melt away, eased by the gentle heat and the steady, thrumming pulse. He stayed there for a long time, just breathing with the stone, feeling its ancient, calming energy flow through him. Orla had moved away, giving him space, her respect for his quiet moment as natural as the breeze that stirred the leaves overhead. In that moment, Finian understood that the magic of this place was not loud or showy. It was a quiet, deep magic woven into the very fabric of the land. It was in the warmth of the stones, the taste of the tea, the kindness in a stranger's eyes, and the low, constant hum that held it all together in a perfect, peaceful harmony. Chapter 3. The Lumina Bloom. As the afternoon sun began its slow, golden descent, casting long, soft shadows across the hollow, Orla approached Finian with that same gentle, knowing smile. "There is something else I think you would like to see," she said, her voice a soft murmur. "It is a gift the hollow gives to the evening." Curious, Finian followed her along a winding, barely there path that led deeper into the embrace of the ancient woods. The air grew cooler here, and the rich scent of damp earth and decaying leaves was overlaid with a new fragrance, something wonderfully delicate and sweet, like warm honey and chamomile blossom. They arrived in a small, secluded clearing, a perfect circle of mossy ground surrounded by a ring of slender, elegant ferns. It was here that the source of the beautiful scent grew. Clusters of remarkable bell-shaped flowers, their petals thick and fleshy, the color of heavy cream. During the day, they were lovely but unassuming. But as the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky and the world was painted in the deep, soft blues and purples of twilight, a quiet magic began to unfold. A soft, inner light began to emanate from the heart of each blossom. It started as a faint, pearlescent sheen, then slowly, gently, it swelled into a warm, steady glow. The entire clearing was soon bathed in a soft, pinkish-white luminescence that seemed to push back the encroaching darkness, not with harshness, but with a gentle, reassuring presence. The light was alive, pulsing with a slow, rhythmic beat, in perfect time with the resonance that hummed in the air. Finian stood in silent awe, watching the wondrous silent display. These were the Lumina flora, and their beauty was a balm for the soul. They share their light most freely when they feel a calm heart nearby, Orla whispered, her voice full of a simple, happy reverence. As if in response, the hum in the clearing seemed to deepen, becoming more melodic, a clearer and more harmonious chord of the hollow's constant, gentle song. The light from the petals cast no sharp shadows, only soft, shifting patterns on the mossy ground and on Finian's own hands as he held them out, a silent gesture of wonder and appreciation. The warm, comforting scent of honey and chamomile intensified, wrapping around him like the softest embrace. From the clearing of the Lumina flora, Orla led him to another of the hollow's secrets. Tucked away at the base of a small weeping willow was a pool of water, so perfectly still it seemed like a solid sheet of dark glass. But as Finian drew closer, he saw that its surface was not reflecting the twilight sky. Instead, it was filled with its own light, a slow, mesmerizing swirl of liquid colors, soft blues, gentle lavenders, and faint streaks of pale watery green, like a gentle captured nebula. This, Orla explained, was a whispering pool. He knelt at its edge, the cool, damp moss a soft cushion for his knees. The air around the pool was noticeably cooler, and the only sound was the impossibly soft rustle of the willow leaves above. Drawn by an impulse, he didn't need to understand. Finian reached out and dipped his fingers into the water. The coolness was a pleasant shock, and the water felt impossibly soft, like liquid silk. As he drew his hand back, he felt a wave of pure, quiet contentment wash over him, a feeling of deep, untroubled joy that settled in his chest and spread through his entire body. He looked at his hand and saw that a faint, silvery shimmer clung to his skin, a residue of the pool's gentle magic. It did not feel wet, but simply cool and pleasant, and it glowed with a faint light of its own for a few moments before softly fading away like a pleasant thought you can't quite hold on to. He felt lighter, as if some unseen weight had been lifted from his spirit, replaced by the cool, clear peace of the whispering pool. That evening, as he sat once more by the warm, swaying fire in the cottage, Finian felt changed. The world of the hollow had opened itself to him, sharing its quiet wonders. The melodic hum of the glowing flowers, the deep contentment of the swirling pools, the steadfast warmth of the ancient stones. He felt the ever-present resonance not just around him, but within him, a gentle humming current that connected him to this peaceful living land. He closed his eyes, and the image that filled his mind was of the soft, pulsing light of the Lumina flora, a gentle rhythmic beacon in the quiet, peaceful dark. Chapter 4. The Cadence of Stillness. In the days that followed, Finian found a rhythm that was not his own, but that of the hollow. It was a slow, languid cadence marked by the rising of the soft sun and the gentle blooming of the Lumina flora at dusk. He found a particular spot that called to him, a place that felt like his own quiet corner of this peaceful world. It was a smooth, wide patch of moss at the base of a great ancient beech tree, its silvery bark patterned with centuries of lichen. From here, he could overlook one of the whispering pools, its surface a constant, slow dance of soft, nebulous color. He would spend long, unhurried stretches of time there, often doing nothing that the outside world would call productive. He was not trying to achieve anything, not seeking answers or wrestling with thoughts. He was, for the first time in a very long while, simply being. He would lie back against the springy, cool moss, the texture a pleasant comfort against his back, and watch the way the dappled green light shifted and played through the leaves of the great tree above him. The air would be filled with the clean, earthy scent of the soil and the faint, sweet perfume carried on the breeze from some distant, unknown blossom. It was here that he truly learned to listen, not just with his ears, but with his whole body. He would close his eyes and focus on the ever-present hum of the resonance, feeling it in the ground beneath him, in the trunk of the tree at his back, and in the very air he breathed. At first, his mind would still wander, a habit of a lifetime, bringing up old maps and half-remembered roads. But he would not fight these thoughts. He would simply acknowledge them, like clouds passing in the sky, and gently, patiently, bring his awareness back to the hum. Gradually, something remarkable began to happen. His own breathing without any conscious effort, began to slow and deepen, falling into perfect time with the low, steady cadence of the hollow. The river of his thoughts, once a busy, chattering flow, began to slow to a quiet, meandering stream, the spaces between thoughts growing longer and more peaceful. A profound sense of stillness began to settle over him, a quietude that was not empty, but deeply, wonderfully full. It was the peace of complete acceptance of being exactly where he was meant to be, with nothing to do and nowhere else to go. One afternoon, as he sat in his usual spot, a small brown bird with a chest the color of a ripe apricot landed on a branch just above him. It regarded him with a bright, curious eye, then let out a short, melodic string of notes, a sound as clear and pure as water trickling over smooth stones. Finian did not move. He simply sat, a part of the scenery, and the bird, feeling no threat, continued its song. In that moment, Finian felt a connection not just to the bird, but to everything, the tree, the moss, the pool, the light. He was not an observer of this world. He was a part of it, humming with the same quiet, life-filled resonance. He felt the last tight knots of tension he had carried for so long finally, completely unravel. The constant, low-level hum of worry that had been the background noise of his life for as long as he could remember was gone, replaced by the gentle, restorative hum of the hollow. A simple and reassuring truth settled into his heart. The world did not need him to map it or understand it or conquer it. It only needed him to be quiet enough to appreciate its gentle, wondrous beauty. He opened his eyes and looked at the whispering pool. The soft, swirling colors of blue and lavender seemed to pulse with a gentle contentment, a perfect reflection of the peace he felt inside. A small, genuine smile touched his lips. He was not the same man who had stumbled upon that hidden path. That man had been searching for rest. This man, the man sitting at the foot of an ancient tree in a quiet, humming hollow, had found it. Chapter 5. A Carried Peace. The morning of Finian's departure arrived as all mornings did in the hollow, softly and without any sense of urgency. A cool, clean light filtered through the window of the cottage, and the air was sweet with the scent of dew on green leaves. There was no sadness in the leaving, no feeling of an ending, for Finian understood now that the hollow was not a place one could truly leave behind. Its peace had been planted in him, a seed that would continue to grow. He sat one last time with Orla on the simple wooden bench, a warm ceramic mug cradled in his hands. The tea was fragrant, and the steam rose in a gentle spiral into the still morning air. They did not speak of goodbyes. Instead, Orla pointed to a tiny, vibrant green sprout pushing its way up through the dark earth near the cottage steps. "Everything here knows its own time to grow," she said, her voice a soft, contented murmur, "and its own time to rest." Finian nodded, understanding her meaning completely. He felt the resonance all around him, a familiar and comforting friend. It was the low, steady hum of the stones waking to the morning sun, the gentle thrum of the ancient trees drawing water up from their deep roots, the quiet, life-filled pulse of the very soil beneath his feet. But now, when he quieted his mind, he could feel a faint echo of it within his own chest. It was a low, steady hum in his own heart, a quiet cadence of stillness that he knew with a deep and simple certainty he would now carry with him wherever he went. When it was time, he stood, and Orla stood with him. She placed a small, smooth gray stone in his palm. It was cool to the touch, but as his fingers closed around it, he could feel a faint, familiar vibration emanating from it, a tiny piece of the hollow song. A reminder, she said simply, that peace is a thing you can hold. Few other words were needed. Their farewell was a shared look of quiet gratitude, a simple mutual understanding that transcended language. Finian turned and walked back toward the almost hidden path that had first led him here. He did not look back, for there was no need. The feeling of the hollow was all around him and within him. He could feel the soft, springy moss under his feet, smell the rich, clean scent of the earth, and hear the gentle, constant hum of life in his heart. His shoulders were relaxed, his breathing was slow and easy, and his mind was wonderfully, blissfully quiet. As he stepped from the shelter of the ancient trees and back into the wider world, he noticed that the light seemed softer, the colors of the wildflowers more gentle, the sound of the breeze in the grass a friendly whisper. The world had not changed, but he had. He carried the hollow with him. The narrative softly fades here, not with an ending, but with a beginning. The beginning of a new, more peaceful way of being, leaving the listener to drift on that same gentle current of calm, enveloped in the feeling of a deep, restorative, and lasting peace. The low resonance of the stones, the warm glow of the Lumina flora, the quiet contentment of the whispering pools, these were no longer just memories of a place visited. They were a part of him now. The story concludes on a soft, long exhalation, a final gentle release, leaving the listener in a state of profound tranquility, ready for a deep and untroubled sleep, carrying a small piece of the hollow's peace with them into their dreams.